All right, I'm back at it. Sort of got a vision in mind. Going to see if I can work this out. I'm not sure about it yet. Remember, I'm freestyling this entire shape. This piece is what it is. Oh, y'all, I got a new birthday gift. So this is my new serrated tool that's going to pretty much make this obsolete. But yeah, so it's retractable. You just have to pull it back so that it's nice and safe. But I'm going to keep it out for now. And this will be my first time using it, so I'm excited about that. It's the small things, but a big thing to me because nobody had to do anything for my birthday. It was just a shot in the dark making that registry. I didn't even know if anybody would respond. I'm an old head, so of course it was posted onto Facebook, and I've got a lot of personal friends on Facebook, more so than, you know, just whomever. I mean, I have a lot of people who follow me or friended me because of my art, but Facebook definitely started out as the place where I could connect with friends. So, you know, I knew there was a chance maybe somebody would get me something, you know, something, like one thing, like buy that set of sponges for $7. I figured someone would do that. But, you know, you guys really, really came through in a major way and bought so much stuff from the wish list. And I'm so appreciative because most of the items are, you know, depending on what your situation is, can be considered pretty inexpensive. But when you need a lot of the pretty inexpensive things, it just becomes expensive, point blank. That's the, you know, and you've got to buy everything piecemeal, and you don't have some of the tools you would love to have for some of the projects you want to start. And, you know, you've just got to bide your time and hope that you'll be able to swing it. So you guys helped me swing it. And I appreciate that so, so much because there's a lot that I want to do, a lot that I want to do, a lot that I want to create. And, you know, I'm hopeful that you guys will support when everything is made available for purchase, but make no mistakes about it. I create because I have to. I need to. It is the ultimate peace reservoir for me. I know just how to jump into this vessel of creativity and immerse myself in absolute peace. And at this extra big age, that is one of the most important things in the world to me, is making sure that my peace is maintained. And I don't have the finer things in life. I do not have money, but that peace is priceless, and I protect it with everything that I have. And this is what brings me the most. So for your contribution to my peace, for your friendship, I thank you. So I'm rolling this coil, and I'm trying to make it considerably more narrow on the ends. Well, one end in particular for now, because I don't know where I'm going to end this. So I'm going to have to sort of take it up, measure it out, cut it, and then roll the bottom end, because I want this to start going up on a slant. So I need to roll more of this part much more narrow, but when I start to do that, it's going to extend it. And I want a stopping point. Yeah, I want it to blend down to right about here. So I think the best move for me is to cut it shorter than I need it and narrow out from there. So let's see how this works. Wow, that's sticking. So I'm going to take this back up, and I'm just going to focus on rolling this end, and then I'm going to remeasure it and see how close I came to having exactly what I need. And I didn't stretch it out as much as I thought I was going to, so that's cool. Y'all gotta forgive me, I'm in a talkative mood tonight, so that's what it is. So let's place this again, see where it stops at this point. I think that's good, because then when I create the second coil, I'm gonna extend it out a little more so that it sort of ladders upward. And I think I'm only going to do 2 coils of that, 3 at the most, and then I'm gonna start shaping this pot, getting rid of tail vulnerable areas like this where I can see a seam and it probably needs a little more clay. I'll figure that out as I go. So here's the birthday gift. Yeah, I like it. I like it. Oh my God, I like this. It's dope. And the needles or the tines, however you want to refer to them, are long enough to, you know, dig deep and get some nice texture in there. So that's a big deal, because this serrated edge tool has very tiny teeth, and that's great for when you want to do delicate work. But when you're doing, you know, more substantial sizing like this one, you know, you want to have something that can handle it. So spin this around, add some texture, spin it back the other way so that I can cross hatch. Cannot tell you, cannot express to you enough how much. I shouldn't have done it on the outside, because I'm going to be putting this more on the inside. But that's fine, because all of this is going to get texturized. So this is going to be more so right along the top. So I'll do it like that. And I'm cross-hatching it, making a nice bit of texture. I just laid it down a little too flat and sort of flattened out in areas, so it's best to just, you know, hold this up in your hand and do what you need to do. I'll texture the inside a little bit. I don't think I need much for that. All right, I'm gonna put small amounts of slip down, not too much. I don't want it too heavy. I don't want to keep the clay too wet. I want it to start drying and getting solid so that I can work with it. So normally, you know, I pat slip on and really pile it on thick. This is a time where I'm not doing as much of that. And next video, or possibly this one, I'll angle this camera a little more differently so that you can see more of the shape of this container that I'm making. All right, so let's see. Yeah, I picked it up at a good starting point. That's dope. All right, I did pretty good with the estimation of where this was going to go. So I'm just using my hand to hold this rim so that it doesn't start to buckle as I press down and make those connections with the slip. And this also helps me sort of shape it a little bit outward the way I want to in areas on this outside area, which is right here. I think I need to pull this down a little bit. You know what? I'm going to slide this down even further. I think it's best for it to come down this way instead of creating this bump from it being straight. So I'm using my hand to brace, using my thumb to pull down. And that's good. That's good right there. Now I can see some unevenness on this side. So once again, just using my fingers to brace as I form and tuck so that I can be comfortable with the level of symmetry that I have. Turning it around to look, see if it looks pretty much the same on both sides. It seems to. Holding this in place, pressing down on the top. All right. I think that's good. So, trying to think of how I want to approach joining these two pieces. And I think I need to create a lot more texture there in order to do that. I'm not worried about bumping into that top coil because all of that's going to be smashed down into this rim that it's joining to anyway. Just working on the symmetry. Now again, this form is not going to be perfect. It's freestyled. I'm not using the template. Of course, I'm definitely not using a potter's wheel. So this is going to be imperfect perfection when it's all said and done. Lamar Jones. Okay, so here we go. I think I'm going to press and roll. Press and roll. This is the technique I'm going to be using as I go around on the outside. Exercise and patience, just doing little bits at a time. Holding this sturdy, placing my elbow up against my body so that I don't let my finger fall back as I do this press and roll section. Because what I'm trying to make sure that I don't do is pull down, drag it down and alter the form. And if you've been here with me through the beginning of this video, I told you I have a very difficult time using my hands as opposing units. I feel like they're supposed to move in tandem, not like this, not like that. I want to do that naturally. I want to move in tandem, and that's not what this requires. So I have to constantly think to keep this hand steady, use this and not do that, because that's what's very natural for me, that movement. So this is not something that at this stage of the game I could rush, because it's too easy for me to revert to the movement that's natural. And like I told you, that's moving my hands in tandem. When I tell you it is so difficult for me to not do this, it's so difficult for me to not do that, that I have to concentrate supremely. I miss my cousin Daryl. Those of you who know me know what just happened. You get me. Once again, I feel myself letting my hand drop, so I've got to brace it and just move this hand to tuck. Not natural for me. And it's also difficult, on top of trying to make sure that I'm not moving in tandem, it's difficult for me not to want to make my hands meet. So the goal is just to hold this here, but not press it inward, not bring it inward. Hold that there, do all the work with this. If it goes up against the fingers, that's fine. But these fingers should not come my way. And that's hard for me. And I can feel when I go wrong. I can feel when I let it take over instead of me controlling it. Like I had a couple of good turns just then, and I felt it. And then I definitely felt the second that I went wrong. God, I hope this survives the kiln, because that'll be a lot of work for it not to, you know? But that's part of the journey too, so it is what it is. I used to feel like I would crumble at the thought of that. I did crumble at the thought of that, but I thought that once it happened to me, I would just be inconsolable. Kill Bill. And I haven't had, you know, much bad luck. The majority of the pieces that I've put in the kiln, they've survived. But I know that there's going to be something one day that I'm really anxious about, and I'm really waiting on, and I'm really looking forward to, and it's just going to not want to make it. But I think that at this point, I'm okay. I'm ready to deal with that. I don't feel like it's going to devastate me in the way that I figured it would. All right. Now that's definitely going to require some extra fortification. I'm here for it. So I'm going to use my new tool, just make some marks, and I'm going to line an extra coil of clay all around this perimeter. I want this to be pretty soft. It's not going to be slip soft, not by a long shot. But, excuse me, I want it softer than it is. I want it sticky soft. So that's why I've sprayed the clay, so I can get it to that consistency. You can see it's sticking to my thumb. I want it pretty much there. A little bit drier than that, so I'm going to continue to work it. Put my thing down, flip it, and reverse it, because the dry clay dust that's collected on the palm of my hand, that'll help me with the drying out part, but I still want that sticky factor. See how that won't let go of my thumb? That's what I want. So now I'm just going to look around as I turn the turntable around and fill in. And, you know, as you look around, you see what you need to do to align everything with the shape and the purpose. So sometimes you might be pulling the clay straight around like this. Sometimes you might be getting a little too thick in an area, so you sort of dig your finger in a little bit, pull in. Other areas you see you need to go up to get that silhouette where you want it to be. And as you turn it, the light and the shadow is going to hit the areas that you missed, and you'll know what to go back in and fortify. Yeah, that scraper tool, the retractable serrated tool, is really dope. It's really dope. I've always done this with you, never without you, so thank you. This is very calming. No one could have told me years ago that I would be able to do this because my patience wears so thin so quickly. And here I am, loving every second of the time that it takes to create things. This is definitely falls within the God complex range, because aside from being a mother and making 2 beautiful babies, this is the closest I've come to being in control of creation in this way. The painting, the drawing, all of that always meant something. But there's something a little bit different about the 3-dimensional feel and having material up under your fingers that is void of shape, void of purpose, until you come in and start giving it one, and then it starts showing you some things you didn't even expect to see. This is just a really dope process. And maybe I had to fall in love with it now at this age. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've always been mad timid about exploring new things. You know, I'm a Taurus. We don't like change. So I fall into a comfort zone, and I'll live there forever if you let me, because it's comfortable, you know? And I don't know if it was just my fear, being intimidated, thinking that I couldn't, or it was just that this is the time, this is the level of maturity I needed to reach to take on something like this. That doesn't mean that that is when you should do it. You have sculptors who have been sculpting since they were able to form a fist and grab something and make something happen with it. So it's not about that. It's not about the age. It's about who I am and how my energy is not as kinetic as it used to be. I don't have to have movement to feel like I'm doing something amazing, or I don't have to have aggressive movement. I can be doing this for hours and hours and be okay with this level of attention to detail and meticulous formulation, I guess. So, you know, tomorrow is like my Friday for the work week, because I always take off every job I'm at. It has to be something really pressing for me to not take off for my birthday. So my birthday is on Friday, so I'm off Friday, of course, the regular weekend, and then I'm off Monday. So I don't go back to work until Tuesday, and I plan to fill it with a lot of sculpting, as much as I can accomplish without wearing myself out. You know, I definitely want to feel like I had a vacation, so I'm not going to force myself to do too much, but I'm already amped about the thought of just working steadily through it, you know? All right, so I'm much happier with that clay being around that side like that and that fortification. I don't know that I'm going to press into this. I think what I want to do is serrate more aggressively, press coil into it first, and then smooth. So I'm going in much deeper, much more aggressively with the tool, because it's going to be more so the coil that's going to be pushed down into the interior and blended. Yeah, the coil is going to fill in the space while I brace my hand, and then I'm going to have it all meet. So I think I need to serrate this as well. So let's go ahead and do that. Keeping my hand to brace it so that I don't start to alter the shape of this coil pot. I'm excited for what it's going to become. All right, so once again, spraying a little water on that. I just need to get it a little stickier. The stickier, the thicker. All right, and I'm going to make several pieces of coil to place. So I'm just going to take and lightly press my thumb into those spaces, like I told you, using my hand to brace so that I don't start altering the shape of the pot. Pressing that clay in so that I know it's going into that open seam. Pulling some of it forward to come right around here. Making this piece of clay a little more moist. That's a little one. That's not going to fill in much. Pressing forward with my thumb into and against the back fingers that are supporting it. I think this piece should get me all the way through to the other side. We'll see. Do I need to? I had the camera angled wrong this whole time. Y'all, you got to forgive me. I'm not a content maker. You know what I'm saying? I am a sculptor, and I'm doing the best that I can to leave my legacy of my process for anybody who's interested and who wants to know how I do the things I do, or for whomever's starting their journey and just wants to see, you know, the different techniques and things that a newbie can create that will hopefully give you all of the courage you need to do what you've got to do. And if things go wrong in that process and I don't capture everything exactly the way I should trying to record, that's fine. That's fine. It's not everything that we get to see all the way through to the end, you know? I'm going to take some of this off because on this other side, it stops pretty much here. It gets real thin. So now I'm just using my middle finger to press that clay in a little more, still very gently, going around. So that I can join this all together. As you can see, I'm smoothing on a bit of a diagonal because I want to keep that curvature there on the top part. Even though that may end up flattened out, I don't know. I haven't decided. So it's best to do less and be able to take away some clay than to start out aggressively, take away too much clay and then realize you need it. And now you're doing a lot of fill-ins, and now you're, you know, a chance for too many pockets of air. If you're not the type to really let your pieces dry thoroughly, I will give a piece months to dry. I'm not in a rush. I will not be rushed. I want everything to survive the kiln. And so far, my ratio has been damn good, and I want to keep it that way. So now this is coming up on a rise, you know? Some just fell into my pot. I don't know if it's dry clay or paper. I'm confused. I has confusion. Yeah, it's dry clay. Looks like a piece of paper. I'm coming around on the diagonal and curving it over at the same time. This one I have to do from the opposite end. I gotta curve inward. Oi, oi, oi. Alright, I spun the wheel a little quickly there, and that's fine. Now I'm going to go in from the interior. I'm going to start at the middle and come out. No real reason, just, I don't know, because I want to. And I'm still pulling down at a diagonal. I'm going to go in once I've done that and smooth all around this area. I just want to make sure it's connected. And it definitely seems to be. So that's great. Pulling down, pressing inward using these outer fingers to hold the shape. Making sure that that clay is going into that textured area that was created with the serrated tool. And you can see it, what it's looking like from the inside. So now, I'm gonna go around. I think I'm gonna try something different. I'm gonna dip my tool in a little bit of slip. Just a little. And just using that to spread it around and make this inside even more smooth. And I'm not worried about it being porcelain smooth. I want it to have texture, have a roughness, be imperfect. That's fine with me. I feel like I could cover a little more territory if I use this tool. That might be a mistake. I'm not sure, but it's a mistake that'll have to be made because I'm damn sure about to do it. Doesn't feel like a mistake. Not yet. All right, I'm pretty pleased with that. I think it's looking pretty good. This area here that I could have done better with, but that's okay. That'll get worked out when I really start, you know, smoothing it out and getting towards the end. So yeah, I think I'm gonna give this one more coil. And I told you I process things badly because I don't have common sense. I usually have to make the mistake a few times and then learn from it. This is where the 2 points start for the elevation coil that I added. Now, initially I was thinking that I was going to make another coil, bring it around here, and bring it out a little further. And I've decided what I actually need to do is make a shorter coil so that it comes around here and stops right about there. And then that's going to give it even more elevation. I hope I'm right. We'll see if I'm right. Told y'all I'm in a talkative mood, so that won't do for TikTok, but it'll probably work out just fine for YouTube. TikTok, I always have to, you know, cut everything down so it's like a minute, 30 seconds, 10 seconds, things like that. And that's fine, you know, there's an app for everyone, there's an audience for everyone. And at this stage, I'm deciding that I want to appeal to both audiences, the ones with the short attention span that just want to see something that's interesting to them really quickly, and the others who really want to hear all of the narratives and hear your take on the process. It's all good, all good. So I'm just compacting the clay, pressing it out. I made this too big. It's cool though. I'm just trying to make sure that this feels even so that when I start to roll, I don't have thinned out areas. I want it to be log-like, you know, so that my roll can be even. And I can actually make this coil probably considerably thicker than the other ones because I want that elevation level. And then make it, you know, much more narrow on the ends like I did the other one. So I'm not going to roll this one out as thin. At least not in the middle. So I'm trying to sort of stay away from that middle and concentrate more on rolling the ends. Pressing it out a little so that I start narrowing that. And I lost my coil. I felt it give way under my fingers and do that weird sort of rectangular thing that happens almost. Now, I also have to be careful. I think this is just me logically thinking about what could happen. I think I also need to be mindful not to make this coil, even though I'm making it thicker than the last one, not to make it so thick that this current rim can't support the weight. I don't want that to happen. So somebody who I was watching last night on YouTube pretty much said you should never do a coil pot without, or coil container, whatever you're making, without a template. And, you know, I don't have no cardboard, so I wasn't really worrying about that. Like I said, if it's a little bit misshapen or imperfect, that's fine. That's what I want. I think this part is going to need to get cut off a little bit. Just that little chunk right there. That's a nice rise level for me. I'm happy with that. So I'm going to go ahead and just roll these out more. And then I'll serrate it. What I love about this turntable is that it's so weighted. I don't know what the pounds, how many pounds it is. It's got to be at least 3, I'm thinking. But I don't have to worry about getting overzealous and pushing too hard and clank, you know, and I knocked it onto the ground. It's solid. You would have to push this, even if you put it right there with a good amount hanging over the edge, it's not going anywhere. I'm not going to chance it like that, but I'm just saying. So all I'm focusing on is making these ends more narrow. That's it. I want them much more narrow. All right, this looks good to me. Probably should turn the camera a little bit more towards me. Take my new birthday tool. I'm going to clean off the tines real quick and get to scratching. I'm going to wet those ends a little just because my hands were powdery, made it sort of dry. I love this tool. I'm telling you right now. It's my new favorite thing. Because of how small the tines are and because it's got a good, you know, length on them. Yeah, I'm very happy with how this serrates. So I'm going to move that out of the way for a little bit. I think I'm putting this more on the outside, but I'm still going to create this area. Serrate it. I don't know why I say create. Yeah, serrate this area. Going all the way around to where it stops, which is right about there. And I'm just going to drag it back the other way, create even more texture. Remember, I already refortified that with the clay. So I'm not worried about it buckling. I'm not worried about that being a vulnerable point. I think it's gonna exist just fine, you know? I've got to put some on here because that is all gonna be joined in. And going around a little bit on the inside. It could have been joined a little better. Okay, add a little bit of slip, and I'm not patting as much as I'm icing. Is that a good word for it? I don't trust my knowledge of words because even though I'm talking to you nonstop, I'm still in this very, I don't know, it's hard to describe. It's a zone that I'm in. So even while I'm speaking, I'm thinking about what I'm doing and sometimes about random stuff, and it causes me to forget the simplest words. So yesterday, I'm working on a piece. It's an elephant. Do y'all know I could not remember the word trunk to save my life? Couldn't remember it. Called the boy's trunk a snout and was like, yeah, that sounds right. That was so far from right. It's embarrassing. But I ain't edited it out. That's what it is. But I did feel like a whole fool. Not a half a fool, but a whole one. Yeah, snout. What the hell? I think I've covered just enough, and I'm going to put the wheel back where it was, put this back where it was, and just start placing it. I did that really well. I did that really well. It's like right where it needs to be. I thought I was going to have to do a whole lot of adjusting, but I didn't. And I think I need to, that very tip, drag that down so that it blends into there and it's not like a lump or a jump. Just the very tip. Because I don't want it to be a lump on this side either. I just want it to sort of seamlessly go in. I'm just going to put a little slip because, like I said, these little edges they're catching hell with the dryness factor. All right, so let me look around and see what I've got. I see that I can sit this out further. So I'm gonna, being very careful not to alter the shape of what I'm creating too much. But I want it to sit out far enough. And I think that's good right there. Yeah, I feel like that's good right there. This is becoming a pretty sizable piece. I thought it was going to be smaller. Yeah, it's being what it wants to be. So, do I start on the outside first? Do I start on the inside? The only thing, like if they ever make this turntable so that it's adjustable, yo, I'm going to be so in love. So here's the same deal. I've got to do that maneuver. Fold over or curl under, however you choose to phrase it, and look at it. And that's going to happen all the way around. And I've got to remember, don't try to do this, Terry. Do this and do this. I had to think about it before I could do that to show you. That's how hard it is for me. I'm pressing with my fingers again. Wrong. Now I'm using a different motion. I'm not going down, I'm going up. Turn around and look at it. Make sure I'm not altering the shape too much. That's looking really good, y'all. I'm really pleased with the shape so far. I really, really am. It came out a lot better than I was expecting it would for my first attempt at doing, you know, a coil container. It's coming out a lot better. Yeah, I'm not mad at this. I'm very pleased with myself, as a matter of fact. I dug in too deeply there. That is okay. I'm just going to put that right back into place and bring it up. Gotta forgive yourself. The clay has memory, they say, but it's forgiving also. So, from what I can see, we're gonna be all right. A little area that I'm concerned about here. I just want to press in a bit while I still can. Okay, that's fine, that's fine. And that's probably just, you know, from me pressing down in the wrong areas, fighting against what I want to do with my other hand. I think what I've just realized just in this instance is that you've got to adjust your technique, your perspective, and your approach based on what the end goal is, what you're doing. Like, everything for me was about keeping this firm, which is difficult for me, especially if my hand is raised like this and not tucked. But I forgot that, you know, for something like this where the motion is coming downward, I could focus on keeping it sturdy from the outside, not the inside. Now, you know, again, that's common sense to most people. I told you I don't possess a lot of it, so it takes me a while to lock in and realize, Terry, you're probably not doing that in the best way, you know? So now that I've realized it, it's cool because I can start governing myself accordingly and moving in a way that's going to get me the desired result. So far, it is. That's looking pretty good to me. Areas that are going to require a little bit more. Right here is where I can see I need to add some softening clay to that. And I need to go ahead and do it now. I'm taking a nice piece, wetting it because I want it sticky. And the combination of the clay dust on my hands and the water that I'm adding to it, they'll work together to make it become exactly what I need it to be. And that's about the consistency that I want. It's actually a little harder than I intended, but it's cool. It'll do what it's supposed to do. And I'm trying to fill in an indentation. So you see, I'm not really touching that middle part. I'm coming up from the middle part and blending that in. This is where the clay started to get thin. There's another little indentation pocket that I want to fill in. So I'm pressing the clay right there into that middle part. And now I'm just gonna come down with my finger, go up. I missed a spot that I feel with my finger, and I'm gonna correct that in just a second. Right here. Yeah, that feels good. All right, now I can start pulling it down and pulling it up. All right. All right. So, same thing as was done before. I'm going to use my tool, serrate the interior some more. I just bump that with my bracelet. You only got to tell me once, so that comes off. Serrating the coil on the interior because I'm going to put another coil around to close up that seam line and then blend it down. And then I'm going to be pretty much finished with this. I'm going to bag it, let it lightly dry so that by the time I get home from work tomorrow, after I unbag it and leave it to sit out for a little while, it should be exactly what I need it to be so that I can go in and start adding, start trimming it, I guess it's called, or, smoothing it out. Because this vessel is what I need it to be. You know what I'm saying? I'm real happy with it. I love the shape of it. There's no part of it that's disappointing for me. I just want it to be solidly built. And I want it to beautifully dry so that once it goes into the kiln, it makes it out. All right, so this is could be a little bit more moist. All right. I'm going to start from the center because this is a substantial seam. I do want to make sure it's covered well. And I'm just pressing that clay right into place and making sure that I am covering that seam. That's all I want, is to cover up that seam, and then I will blend it up and down. Once again, I've got my hand on the outside, using it to brace against the pressure so that I don't start inadvertently and slowly altering the shape that I'm so happy with at this point. Yeah. All right, that's good. A little more for the edges. We're almost done for the night, guys. All right. You know what I never noticed until I started videoing myself is how I'll be having an internal conversation in my head. Even though I'm not speaking, I'm thinking, okay, that's coming along good. All right, that's good. That feels good. And then once I'm ready to speak audibly to you, I always give it away by saying, all right, without fail. You'll notice it now if you haven't already, now that I've pointed it out. And you know what? I think that instead of using a tool, I'm going to blend this with my finger. I might dip it in a little bit of slip from time to time if I feel an area is too dry. But I think that finger blending at this point might be the thing to do. Again, I could be wrong. All of this is trial and error at this point, every bit. But I think it's easier for me to follow the curve with my finger than it is with the tool. So that's why I ended up making that on the spot decision. On the looks of it, it seems like that was a good decision. I'm dipping my finger in bits of slip as I do this, just so that I don't end up with dry spots that create friction and I accidentally yank on the clay and create any cracks. We don't want those. I think I did great. I really do. Yeah. You okay?
Yeah. Recording.
What?
Recording.
What?
You're recording?
Yes. Why, do you need me?
I got paid.
How much?
263.
You can send me 50.
Gotcha.
Next week is when your check's going to be light, right?
Yeah.
All right, we are calling it at 1 minute and 1 minute. No, at 1 hour and 20 minutes. I am done for the night. I'm really happy with how this is turning out. I'm really excited for my plan for it that I hope is going to go exactly the way I need it to. And as always, thank you so much for hanging in there with me. And I'll catch you on the flip side. Peace.